At my birthday party, I had an accidental one-night stand with Ethan, the boy next door I chased for 10 years. When I woke up, he was already getting dressed, looking down at me with cold disgust. This is a really cheap trick, Chloe. I looked at the glass of non-alcoholic juice on the nightstand. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just ignored the aching soreness in my body, went straight home, and completely cut off contact with him for 3 whole months. Next time I heard from him, his mother had dragged him to my house to ask for a favor. Our stubborn boy is finally ready to settle down. They're planning the engagement. Chloe, you majored in interior design, right? Can you help them renovate their new house? I froze in the kitchen, spilling the hot soup all over my hand. My mom happily patted my arm. Wait, did you two actually make it work? I always said my girl might not be the smartest, but she's definitely thick-skinned. You actually snatched Ethan. The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. Ethan's face went pitch black. Chloe, is it fun to spread rumors? Even if you lie and say we're having a baby, I will still never marry you. Both of our mothers froze. Mrs. Davis immediately apologized. What nonsense are you talking about? Chloe is a good, respectable girl. Stop acting like a jerk. She turned around and slapped Ethan's arm repeatedly. I took the opportunity to speak up. It's fine, Mrs. Davis, but I really can't help with the house. I looked down and gently touched my belly. I actually am pregnant exactly 3 months. I smiled and added, but don't worry, all 3 of you, the baby isn't Ethan's. That one sentence felt like a sudden clap of thunder. Ethan kicked the chair next to him in a rage, grinding his teeth. Is it appropriate for you to make this kind of joke right now? Under my mom's shocked gaze, I brought out a bowl of chicken soup and sat down at the dining table. Looking at his furious face, I covered my lower abdomen, completely calm. I'm not joking. I am pregnant and it really isn't yours. Then I forced a polite, apologetic smile. I just found out a few days ago and haven't had the chance to tell everyone. I'm sorry, Mrs. Davis. You'll have to find someone else to design the house. I stirred my soup and said to my mom, I asked you to make chicken soup today because the doctor said the baby needs more nutrients. The air in the room froze. My mom's eyes welled with tears and she couldn't say a word. Sensing that things were going south, Mrs. Davis awkwardly laughed and dragged Ethan out of the house. Before he left, Ethan gave me a dark, unreadable look and spat out one last line. Even if it's true, I'll never take responsibility for it. The moment they left, my mom slammed her hand on the table. I know you've loved Ethan for 10 years, but even if you're angry that he's getting engaged, you can't ruin your own reputation like this. You haven't even had a boyfriend. Where would a baby come from? I pulled the ultrasound report from my pocket. The words pregnancy 3 months completely silenced her. She closed her eyes in defeat and suddenly grabbed my wrist, as if realizing something. I heard what he just said. He said, even if it's true, he won't take responsibility. Did something happen between you two? Is this child his? I took a sip of the soup and said quietly, Mom, how many times do I have to say it? The baby really isn't Ethan's. My mom's hand shook with anger. Then tell me who the father is. I'm not against you dating. You're almost 30 and you always rejected the guys I set you up with. I thought you were set on Ethan forever, but you. She looked around and lowered her voice. But you went and got yourself pregnant without a husband. A wave of nausea hit my throat. I stood up and poured the soup down the drain. As she kept lecturing, I said helplessly, I'll tell you more when the pregnancy is stable. He knows about the baby and he's willing to take responsibility. My mom followed me, her face full of frustration. Take responsibility? How? Right now he says he will, but once you actually give birth, he'll run away. My mind drifted, thinking of how excited a certain someone had been when he found out. An involuntary smile touched my lips. He would take responsibility. The moment he found out I was pregnant, he immediately transferred $1 million to my account and bought all the baby supplies himself. At the very least, he was 1,000 times more responsible than Ethan. Mom, don't worry, your daughter isn't stupid. I'm going to work now. I packed my things and went down to the garage. When I reached my car, I saw Ethan's car blocking my driveway completely. I instinctively reached into my bag to grab his spare key to move it. But after rummaging for a bit, he had taken his keys back the day we started our Cold War. Hesitantly, I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the bottom of my chat list to find his name. Can you move your car? I need to go to work. The next second, a red exclamation mark flashed on my screen. He had blocked me. I tapped on his Instagram profile. His profile banner, which had been a sports theme for years, had been replaced by a photo of 2 hands locked together. An official relationship announcement. I let out a bitter laugh and put my phone away. Right, he took his keys back, so blocking me was only natural. As I turned to leave, I tripped on something on the ground and almost fell. My heart leaped into my throat. I grabbed the side mirror of his car to steady myself. Scattered all over the concrete were things I had left in his car over the years. There was my winter coat, which I had given him, because I was worried he'd catch a cold after drinking. There was a silver cross necklace I had climbed thousands of steps at a cathedral to get for him just to keep him safe. And a meticulously packed first aid kit in case he got sick. The rest was just random junk, lipsticks and fake eyelashes I'd accidentally dropped during our hangouts. If the person didn't matter to him and her, things were just trash to be thrown away. Through the passenger window, I saw the front seat had been decorated beautifully. There was a pink cushion, a cute plushie tied to the headrest, and a toy steering wheel on the dashboard. In the past, whenever I tried to put a small keychain in his car, he would throw it out. If you put something so girly in here, people will think I have a girlfriend, he used to say. My eyes burned. So this was the special treatment saved only for an official girlfriend. I bent down, threw all my old belongings into the trash can, and called an Uber. As soon as I sat down, my high school bestie Lily called me, screaming through the phone, "Chloe, that jerk Ethan is getting engaged." Hearing the news again, I was much calmer. "Yeah, I just found out. Did you see his Instagram?" We were all terrified. "He never posts anything. And today he uploaded 5 different posts. We thought the bride was you, but it turns out." I didn't want to hear it, so I cut her off. "Want to hear something even more shocking?" Lily asked instantly. "What?" A gentle smile crept onto my face. "I'm pregnant. You're going to be a godmother." "What?" "I'm not lying. Exactly 3 months." I sent her a picture of the ultrasound. She sounded like she was about to cry with excitement. "I thought you were going to be stuck on Ethan for the rest of your life. I was literally just about to tell you to stop running into that brick wall. But look at you. You got pregnant. That's amazing. Quick, tell me who's the dad." I kept it a mystery. "In a few days, when he's done with his business trip, you'll be the first person to meet him." She happily agreed, and we hung up after chatting about baby prep. Right after I sat down at my desk, Lily posted on her Snapchat, "Thank God my bestie Chloe is pregnant. I'm going to be a godmother." I was about to message her to tell her to keep it on the down low, but the next second Ethan, who had been completely MIA, commented, "Are you playing along with her little drama?" Now Lily clapped back instantly. People without kids shouldn't interfere with those of us who do. Can't you see the hospital's official stamp on the report? The frustration that had been building up in my chest was mostly cleared by Lily's reply. I hummed a little tune and spent a busy afternoon working. Later, I took a picture of the soothing flowers a certain someone had sent to my office and posted it on my Snapchat story. It feels so good to have someone caring for me. Out of nowhere, Ethan left a comment. "Is lying to yourself that comforting? Just don't go around telling people I sent those to you." In his eyes, I was that worthless. I didn't reply. While waiting for my ride after work, a familiar car pulled up right in front of me. A frustrated Ethan rolled down the window. "Called an Uber." "I'm not asking. Get in." Sighing, I canceled my ride. I instinctively walked to the passenger side. But after he glared at me, I quietly got into the back seat. Ethan drove incredibly fast. The wind cut through the open window like a knife. While waiting at a red light, he habitually pulled out a cigarette. But after glancing at my flat stomach through the rearview mirror, he put it away. "You can't keep this baby. I can compensate you for what happened that night, but I won't be responsible for a child's future." I gently stroked my belly, my heart aching. "You make it sound like I forced myself on you that night. Let me say it again. I don't need you to take responsibility, and the baby isn't yours." Ethan swore under his breath and slammed his hand on the steering wheel, honking the horn loudly. "You're still acting. At a time like this, I don't think you have enough charm to make any other guy look at you." He looked at me through the rearview mirror, his eyes filled with endless mockery. My pale, tired face was reflected in the window. I didn't care to argue with him. Since we were kids, Ethan was always the golden boy. He was tall, handsome, studious, and great at sports. Girls chasing him could line up from our doorsteps to the school gates. Even my breakfasts were supplied by his fangirls. Because I looked so average, they collectively agreed that I wasn't a threat. When I first started passing their love letters to him, Ethan was shocked. "Hey, why are you giving me these? I don't like you. Don't do this." Wearing my thick glasses, I told him honestly I didn't write them. "Someone else asked me to give them to you." "Good." He let out a long sigh of relief. "Let me make this clear. Don't get any ideas about me. To me, you're basically genderless." I felt a pang of sadness, but I still spent the next 3 years quietly following behind him. It wasn't until high school, when we were in the same class, that things changed. After his basketball games, he would walk a long way just to ask for my water bottle. "Give me a sip. I'm dying of thirst." The setting sun hit his sweaty face, making him look incredibly bright for the first time. My ears flushed red and I refused. "Why not? Don't be so stingy to your bro." He unreasonably snatched it away and gulped it down. When I got the bottle back, I hid in a corner where no one was looking and took a sip from where his lips had touched. That was the moment I realized I liked him. But he didn't like me. I started caring about my appearance, tried taking off my glasses, and clumsily put on makeup that made me look like a clown. He mocked me mercilessly. So ugly. Later, I intentionally threw away over 50 points on my SATs just to make sure I went to college in the same state as him. I played games of truth or dare just to confess to him under the guise of a joke. I threw drunken tantrums and dropped hints constantly. But all I got in return was his disdain and malicious teasing from our mutual friends. The final straw was at my birthday party 3 months ago. I had gone out to buy cold medicine for him, and when I returned to the private room, I heard his friends making bets through the door. "Do you think Chloe is going to find another chance to confess to you tonight? How many times has it been? At least 10,000 times, right?" Ethan's lips curved into a slight smirk. "No matter how many times she hints at it, I'll just play dumb. After all, she's great for everything except being a girlfriend." My hand froze in midair. My fingers tightened around the box of cold medicine until the edges dug into my skin. Then one of the guys laughed. "What if she cries tonight?" Ethan leaned back lazily. "She won't." "Why?" "Because she'll keep chasing me tomorrow." The room erupted in laughter. I stood outside the door for a long time before quietly turning around. I should have left then. Instead, I walked to the hotel bar. Someone sat down beside me. He was wearing a black suit, his tie loosened slightly after what looked like a business banquet. You look like someone stole your entire future. I laughed bitterly. Something like that. He slid a glass of juice toward me. You've had enough. I glanced at him. He was absurdly handsome, with calm eyes that made people instinctively trust him. We talked for nearly an hour. He never asked why I was crying. He simply listened. When I finally stood up, I felt dizzy. The juice, I murmured. I think someone put something in it. His expression changed instantly. Before either of us could react, the world spun. The next morning, I woke up in a hotel suite, and Ethan was standing beside the bed. His eyes were icy. That was the beginning of the nightmare. Back in the present, Ethan suddenly braked so hard my body lurched forward. What are you smiling about? I blinked. I wasn't. You've been smiling ever since you mentioned that man's taking responsibility. His voice turned colder. Who is he? I don't think that's any of your business. He laughed without humor. So there really is another man. Yes. His grip on the steering wheel tightened until his knuckles turned white. What does he do? None of your business. How old is he? None of your business. Do your parents know him? I looked out the window. They will. Ethan's jaw clenched. Does he even know you're pregnant? He was the first person I told. Silence. A long suffocating silence. Then Ethan suddenly asked, is he treating you well? I was slightly surprised. Very well. He cooks for me. He reminds me to sleep. He goes with me to every prenatal appointment. He reads parenting books. He even argues with doctors because he's afraid I'll be uncomfortable. The more I spoke, the uglier Ethan's expression became. He transferred me $1 million the same day he found out. He said if it wasn't enough, he'd send more. He also bought a house near the hospital. So, I smiled faintly. I really don't need your concern. Ethan suddenly slammed on the brakes again. This time the car stopped outside my apartment building. He turned around sharply. You're lying. I've known you for over 20 years. You've only ever loved me. Where exactly did this perfect man come from? Before I could answer, my phone rang. The caller ID made my expression soften instantly. I answered. Have you landed? A low, gentle voice came through the speaker. I just got off the plane. I'm outside your office, but Lily said you already left. Where are you? I glanced at Ethan. I'm home. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Okay. His voice became even softer. Don't stand outside for too long. And don't forget to eat. I brought you something. After hanging up, I looked at Ethan. My ride is here. Ethan stared at the phone as though he'd seen a ghost. That tenderness. That tone. No man had ever spoken to Chloe like that before. 5 minutes later, a black luxury sedan slowly stopped beside Ethan's car. The driver hurried out to open the rear door. A tall man stepped out. The moment Ethan saw his face, all the color drained from his own. His pupils shrank violently. Ew. The moment the man stepped out, the entire street seemed to fall silent. Ethan got out of his car so abruptly the door slammed shut behind him. You. The man adjusted the cuffs of his tailored suit and looked at Ethan with calm indifference. Do I know you? Ethan's face stiffened. Of course he knew him. No one in their industry didn't. Adrian Sinclair. Founder of Sinclair Capital. 32 years old. Youngest billionaire in the city. The man countless companies tried and failed to partner with. The same man Ethan's company had been trying to secure a meeting with for over a year. Ethan forced a smile. Mr. Sinclair. Adrian gave a polite nod before walking straight past him. His expression softened the instant he reached me. Have you been waiting long? I shook my head. Just a few minutes. He frowned slightly. You're not wearing the maternity shoes I bought. I wanted to wear heels today. They're uncomfortable. Without another word, Adrian crouched in front of me. He took a pair of white flats from a shopping bag. I knew you'd do this. He helped me change my shoes right there by the car. His movements were practiced and unbelievably gentle. Ethan stood frozen. He had known Chloe for over 20 years. Not once had he seen a man treat her like she was something precious. After helping me up, Adrian naturally wrapped one arm around my waist. Did the baby behave today? I laughed. He kicked twice after lunch. Adrian immediately placed his hand against my stomach. Really? His eyes lit up with excitement. I missed it again. You'll feel it next time. I hope so. The smile on his face was impossible to hide. He looked happier than someone who had just signed $1 billion contract. Only then did Adrian finally notice Ethan was still standing there. He looked at him politely. And you are? Ethan's throat tightened. For the first time in years, introducing himself felt difficult. I'm Chloe's neighbor. Childhood friend. Adrian extended his hand. Thank you for looking after Chloe all these years. Ethan stared at the hand but couldn't bring himself to shake it. Instead, he looked directly at Adrian. Are you the baby's father? Yes. Adrian answered without the slightest hesitation. I'm also Chloe's fiancé. The world seemed to stop. Even I blinked in surprise. Fiancé? I looked up at Adrian. He simply smiled gently. I was going to propose after dinner. But since Mr. Neighbor asked first, he reached into his coat pocket, took out a velvet box, and right there beside the two cars he opened it. Inside was a dazzling diamond ring. He looked into my eyes. Chloe, I know we've only known each other for 3 months. I also know I don't deserve to ask this so soon. But, he glanced at my stomach before looking back at me. I don't want another day to pass where you're facing the world alone. Will you marry me? Behind us, Ethan's face turned completely white. His fists clenched so tightly that his nails drew blood from his palms. Only now did he finally understand. The girl who had chased him for 10 years had truly stopped chasing him. Ethan's smile disappeared. He never got an answer. Because before I could speak, Adrian's assistant hurried over. Mr. Sinclair, the board meeting starts in 40 minutes. Adrian nodded. Take Chloe home first. We'll talk tonight. He gently squeezed my hand before getting back into his car. As the motorcade drove away, Ethan remained standing in the street, staring after it. His phone suddenly rang. Congratulations, one of his coworkers laughed. You finally got a meeting with Sinclair Capital? Ethan looked at the disappearing taillights. No, the line went quiet. You missed it. I think I just lost something much bigger. Over the next week, Ethan completely lost control. He began appearing everywhere. Outside my office, outside my apartment, outside the hospital after every prenatal appointment. Every time, Adrian's security team quietly escorted him away. One afternoon, Ethan cornered me in the parking garage. 5 minutes. I don't have anything to say. You loved me for 10 years. I did. So how can you suddenly love someone else? I looked at him calmly. I didn't stop loving you overnight. You made sure that happened little by little. His face froze. I spent 10 years proving I loved you. You spent 10 years proving it didn't matter. I walked around him. He grabbed my wrist. Before he could say another word, 2 bodyguards stepped between us. Sir, let go. Ethan reluctantly released me. As I got into my car, I saw something in his eyes that made my stomach tighten. Desperation. 3 nights later, I worked late finishing a design proposal. The office building was nearly empty. The elevator doors opened. Ethan? He looked exhausted. Dark circles ringed his eyes. I just want to talk. I'm calling security. I said I just want to talk. He suddenly grabbed my arm. I struggled. Ethan, let go. He ignored me and pulled me toward the emergency stairwell. You keep hiding behind Adrian. I'm not hiding behind anyone. You won't even listen to me. I listened for 10 years. He dragged me outside to the underground parking area. Ethan, stop. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered across the concrete. He pulled me toward his car. I'm taking you somewhere quiet. No. I fought back with everything I had, protecting my stomach as much as I could. At that exact moment, a black SUV screeched into the garage. Several security officers rushed out. Mrs. Sinclair. Ethan turned in shock. Before he could react, Adrian stepped out of the SUV. His face was terrifyingly calm. Not angry. Not shouting. Just frighteningly calm. He walked straight toward Ethan. Take your hand off my fiancée. Ethan tightened his grip instead. She needs to hear me out. Adrian stopped a few feet away. His voice remained level. Last warning. Let go. I won't. The security officers immediately moved in. Within seconds, Ethan was pulled away from me. I stumbled backward. Adrian caught me before I could fall. The first thing he did wasn't ask about Ethan. It wasn't yell. It wasn't chase after him. He carefully looked me over. Are you hurt? I shook my head, already crying from delayed fear. The baby. I don't know. His expression changed instantly. Hospital. He scooped me into his arms without another word. As he carried me toward the SUV, Ethan struggled against the guards. I wasn't going to hurt her. I just wanted to talk. Adrian paused only once. Without turning around, he said quietly, if anything had happened to Chloe or our child tonight, I would never have forgiven you. He got into the SUV with me, holding my trembling hand the entire drive to the hospital. Only after the doctor confirmed that both I and the baby were safe did Adrian finally close his eyes in relief. Outside the examination room, police officers approached Ethan. After reviewing the security footage, witness statements, and the parking garage cameras, they informed him he was being detained on suspicion of unlawful restraint and assault. As he was led away in handcuffs, Ethan kept looking toward the hospital room door, but it never opened for him. The investigation moved quickly. The parking garage cameras had captured everything. The witnesses confirmed that Ethan had forcibly dragged Chloe toward his car, while ignoring her repeated pleas to stop. His engagement was called off within 2 days. His company suspended him indefinitely. The story spread through their social circle almost overnight. No one defended him anymore. For years, everyone had joked that Chloe would always be waiting for Ethan. Now they finally realized the truth. She had stopped waiting. And Ethan was the only one who hadn't noticed. Unable to accept reality, Ethan spiraled. He stopped answering calls, stopped eating, spent his days sitting outside the apartment where Chloe no longer lived, staring at the dark windows. One rainy evening, he learned from an old neighbor that Chloe and Adrian had already moved into their new home weeks ago. He laughed, then laughed harder, until the sound turned into uncontrollable sobbing. He finally understood. The girl who had once centered her entire world around him had built a new life without leaving him a place in it. For the first time in his life, he knew what it felt like to love someone who would never come back. Several days later, While driving alone late at night in heavy rain, Ethan ignored repeated warnings to pull over because of near-zero visibility. Distracted and emotionally overwhelmed, he failed to notice a truck that had stopped ahead due to an accident. The collision was catastrophic. Despite emergency responders' efforts, Ethan died from his injuries before reaching the hospital. His funeral was small. His mother cried until she nearly collapsed. His father aged years in a single week. Even those who were angry with Ethan couldn't help feeling that the ending was tragic. He had thrown away the one person who loved him most. By the time he wanted her back, there was nothing left to reclaim. Epilogue. 6 months later. The delivery room echoed with the baby's loud cries. It's a healthy little girl. Adrian's eyes turned red the moment the nurse placed the baby in his arms. He looked completely overwhelmed. She looks like you. I laughed weakly. She looks like a potato. He smiled through tears. Our potato. When he carefully placed our daughter beside me, she instinctively wrapped her tiny fingers around his thumb. Adrian froze. Then, for the first time since I'd met him, the composed businessman openly cried. I'll protect both of you. I promise. And he kept that promise. 3 years later. Their daughter raced through the garden, giggling as Adrian chased after her with a stuffed dinosaur. Daddy's going to catch you. No. She squealed and ran straight into my arms. Mommy, save me. I picked her up. Sorry. My daughter is under my protection. Adrian pretended to sigh dramatically. So I've been outnumbered already? Our daughter nodded seriously. Girls stick together. He laughed and kissed both our foreheads. Fine. I'll happily lose every time. Watching the two people I loved most, I finally realized something. For 10 years I had mistaken persistence for love. Real love had never made me beg. It had never made me question my worth. Real love had simply arrived, taken my hand, and quietly built a home around us. This time, I never had to chase